Let me share my screen now, and I thank you for your for having shown up at such a short notice. Right? I'll try to ensure that I am of some use to you. All right. Do you see my screen, all of you? All right. All right. Now, when I say that in the LSAT you have to have a discipline of the mind, I am not telling you, I'm not giving you a lecture. Okay? I'm telling you as to what the exam is. In life, people will crack some jokes. Suppose if I ask my wife, hey, how are you? Okay, now all of you, stop asking unnecessary questions. Is this a good score? Is that a bad score? I'll take this now at the end of the session. For the next, like I said, this is a discipline of the mind. I will not entertain those questions now. I will only ask whether you've understood or not understood, for which you will have to say yes, no, or whatever. For other things, please leave those questions for the end. The class has now begun. Okay? So when I say there's the need for a discipline of the mind, just once tech check. Am I visible? Screen visible? Audio clear? Everything fine? One tech check. Okay, thank you. All right. So when I say discipline of the mind, I mean to say that let us say if I am to ask my wife, how are you? And she says, I'm fine. I don't have a wife, I'm just kidding. But if I were to ask a potential wife, how are you? She says, I'm fine. I don't take that at face value. You know, I might want to see, is she really fine or is she just saying I'm fine? There I have to think of many things. But the LSAT is very different. The LSAT is very literal. You know, what that means is whatever is written is what you have to know, right? So if I ask my wife, if this were an LSAT question, Ankit asks his wife, are you fine? Are you okay? And the wife answers, yes. It ends there. A very important thing that you should remember when approaching the LSAT is do not bring external material to you. What that means is you might have great knowledge about how you should speak to your wife, but you don't bring that here. Likewise, let us say you have a certain question, whether that question is in reading comprehension or whether it is in logical reasoning or whether it is in analytical reasoning. You see, now people give different names to things. Uh, what we are looking at is the exam called the LSAT India. Okay, so this is the Indian version of the LSAT. The American version is called LSAT. There, instead of analytical reasoning, you have what is called as logic games, right? So this doesn't matter. The nomenclature does not matter. I'm talking about the essence. What I'm trying to tell you here is that in any of the questions, you have to be able to understand the literal meaning of what is written, right? You need to be able to understand what has actually been written and do not bring external information. So let us say your reading comprehension passage is on something like science and technology. Let us say it's talking about vaccines. And there it makes a mention of a certain vaccine. Let us say there's a vaccine called COVID winner. Let's say there's one vaccine called this thing. Now your knowledge of what vaccines are, what has happened, you're not supposed to bring your knowledge of vaccination, immunology, nothing. Your question might look difficult. It might look like this is a question for a scientist, but it is not. Okay? It only requires you to understand structure. Let me give you an example. And I want you all to answer this immediately. I'll put a question to you. You have to answer it immediately. There is Rahul and there is Mohan. Okay. My question to you is, if Rahul is the brother of Mohan, if Rahul is the brother of Mohan, what is Mohan of Rahul? Quickly tell me. Excellent, all of you. Yes, 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 yes. Now, some of you, very good, very good. You see, if Rahul is the brother of Mohan, Mohan is the brother of Rahul, is what we'll try to say. But remember, and I'm telling you a very important point regarding these kinds of questions, that between a conclusion, there is always something called an assumption. You must have seen what is an assumption. Assumption. Here I'm telling you what an assumption is. Yes, Shivani, very good. It's brother or sister. You see, we assumed, suppose I said if Rahul is the brother of Mohan, okay, I can put male for him because I called him brother. But regarding Mohan's gender, I do not know. The statement does not tell you what Mohan is. Okay. Therefore, in my head, he's either male or female. If you want to put a third gender, you can add that. But I'm just giving you the idea. Okay. The point is, suppose you look at Mohan and you say, "Arey, do you know any woman called Mohan?" That's what I told you. The knowledge that Mohan is the name of a man is external knowledge. Do not bring your external knowledge to the exam. You just made that mistake. Okay. Do not bring external knowledge to the exam. The moment you bring your knowledge of the world to this, suppose you know what's happening in Palestine, suppose you know what's happening in Israel, and you try to solve a question that kind of deals with Israel, let me assure you that you will get it wrong. You know, in reading comprehension, there are some brilliant people. If they get an RC on the subject on which they're doing their PhD, they get it wrong. Because you lose this thing that is called objectivity. You know what objectivity is? Look at the damn question. Do not look at other things. Do not think of what other things are, what you know. So the discipline of the mind is, can you train yourself to only look at the question, to take no more than what it gives you, take no less than what it gives you. So suppose if I were to ask you, suppose I said Rahul is the brother of Mohan. And then I ask you, what are the genders of Rahul and Mohan? If you say cannot say, wrong answer. Because you've omitted the part that I've told you. Rahul is the brother of Mohan. So I've told you Rahul is a man, right? About Mohan, I don't know. So you must not take more than what I give you. You must not take less than what I give you. You need to take only exactly as much as the question offers. Is this point clear to everybody? I hope you realize this is so fundamental, but then it gets your mind on track. Okay? If your mind is not on track, that's a problem. Therefore, the first important point when you approach a question like this, and this is not only for the LSAT, tomorrow if you take the CAT or the CLAT or anything else, it's the same thing, right? So I've told you what the discipline of the mind is. The discipline of the mind basically comes down to 2 points. One, no external information to be brought in. Now, there's a temptation to bring external information, okay? And how do you learn that? You try to solve a question, okay? How do you solve a question? Go to the LSAT website. It's called discoverlaw.in, okay? You will find some free test papers there. Regardless of which exam you're preparing for, go download one of those. Try to solve the question. If you get the answer right, it means maybe you had the right approach, because there are many ways of getting the answer right. A, B, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, which is the right answer. You might get that right. So what I'm saying is that suppose you get the answer right, maybe your method was right. But if your answer is wrong, surely your method was also wrong. So you gradually look at the answer, look at your method, and refine your method. Am I making sense to all of you? You have to discipline your mind by looking at the answer and then refining your answers. Okay? Now, how do you solve the question? You have to solve the question very patiently. Again, you will say, Ankit, you are giving me a lecture on patience. Go give this elsewhere. No, I'm not selling you the LSAT. I'm telling you how to solve it. Okay? You will have to be patient. If you want to go from, say, 40 percentile to something like 90 percentile, you see, 90 percentile or even 80 percentile, between 80 to 90 percentile will guarantee you a seat in the college of your choice anywhere in this country. You don't need to score a 99.9 percentile like you need to in CAT. Okay. The difference in my calculated guess between 40 percentile and 80 percentile is maybe 10 questions at the most. If you can get 10 questions more, now don't, you can't hold me responsible for this because I'm giving you a guess, but it's a very well calculated guess. If you can go from 40, if you want to go from 40 to 80, get 10 questions more correct and you will go there. Which means you don't need to do great things in the exam. You have a question before you. Can you get your mind to look at the question, look at what it is given to you, and get it right? So, therefore, my first most important point for you is that you try to stay disciplined. And this is what I expect from you for the next 1 hour or so. For the next 1 hour, stay disciplined. I will try to stay disciplined. I am taking the risk of getting questions wrong, but that again will show you that where my indiscipline is, right? We will try to go through some questions together. Do not bring external information. Stay on the problem and trust that with time you get better. And if you ask me how much time, it's a bad question to ask, but if I am to say something, for the next 10 days, work for around 2 hours a day with this discipline of the mind. So let us say today we are on the 15th until the 24th, study for 2 hours a day. Then for the next 5 days, if you can take it up to around 4 hours a day, I'd say that 80 percentile should be very simple for you. Okay. Let me now debunk some myths for you. You know what people will tell you for reading comprehension? And everybody does this. Now I might be wrong, but this is what I speak from my experience. What people will tell you for reading comprehension is read the editorial of a newspaper. How many of you have heard this advice? Let me know in the comments. Let me know how many of you have heard this. Oh God. You know what? When you read the editorial of a newspaper, you know what you get there? You get the opinion of the editor. You know what opinion is? Opinion is external information. Do you all appreciate this point? Suppose somebody says, Palestine should not have done this. It's external information. It is baggage. It will hurt you in the exam. It is dangerous to do this. People say read the newspaper. Then that's the first thing that people give you. The thing with an editorial is that if you take the material from that, it will hurt you in the exam. Then people will tell you this, something else. Then people say the method for RC is read editorial newspaper. Then they'll say improve your vocabulary. Let me tell you, the LSAT India does not test you on vocabulary. If you see a question, and I guarantee this to you, if you see a question that uses a tough word, okay, you know how it will be. There was one question I remember, in the one of these groups. It says occultist says this. Then someone else is called something else. You know what? In the LSAT India, you can almost every time replace this occultist by O. Replace him by Ankit. Replace him by Mohan. Replace him by Sriram. You can do anything if you want. It makes no difference. You know, your knowledge does not help you. You do not need grand vocabulary. You do not need to know if there's a difficult word, if there's a word you've not heard. Okay, if you're able to understand what I'm speaking right now, it means you have enough vocabulary for the LSAT. It's as simple as that. If you try to chase vocabulary, you will lose the main thing. The vocabulary, the tough word in the LSAT is. The tough word is, oh, you will open that question. I don't know anything, so tough, you leave it. That is what the purpose of that question is. If you replace that tough thing by a simple thing, it's easy. So you do not need vocabulary. People will say, RC. So what you should do is keep reading the newspaper. As much as you read, you will keep getting better at it. Your speed will improve. Your vocabulary will improve. your comprehension will improve, and thus you will solve RC better. Wrong. I always make a distinction between two things. You know what? I don't read much. So there's so if you ask me, Ankit, tell me something about the news. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know, I don't read. But you're like, Ankit, solve this question. 9 out of 10 times I get it right. The reason is I don't know much. There's a difference between being well read and there's a difference between and being well prepared for RC. There's a big difference between these two. Being well prepared for RC is to learn the method of solving RC questions. The method for solving RC questions can be done in 10 days. And the method for solving RC is the same as the method of for solving anything else. It's a discipline of the mind. I'll take you to it. Well read? Well, this takes constant practice. I will not say you can become well read in 15 days. Sorry. Well read, you will need to have studied. I cannot help you. I cannot take a master class on making you well informed, well read people. But I can take a master class on method because method is very specific. Okay. So if someone tells you that this exam requires a lot of preparation, this and that, wrong. Let me debunk this myth for you. Next thing, what is the method to practice for this test? Like I said, you want to solve an RC question, or you want to solve a logical reasoning question, or you want to solve analytical reasoning. People will say, this is one person who wants to appear for LSAT. He wants to go here. You know what people will tell you? For RC, they'll say, go read the editorial. Then you make notes, read some 1,000 high frequency vocabulary, and then you reach RC. This is what they'll tell you for reading comprehension. Very good. So you'll reach RC like this. Let me tell you, you will not even reach RC, you will go somewhere else. For logical reasoning, you know what people say? One more brilliant piece of advice that I hear. And let me know how many. They say solve Sudoku. How many have heard this brilliant piece of advice? Good, okay. There are people who talk about solving the Sudoku to practice logic games. No, go for the question directly. To do the exam well is to, you know what, when somebody solves the Rubik Cube, I don't see that as an intelligent person. Solving the Rubik Cube is to solve the Rubik's Cube. It's very simple. If I learn how to solve the Rubik Cube, I'll learn how to do it. But if you give me an LSAT question, I'll not get it right. Right? So the person who solves the Rubik's Cube cannot get LSAT question right. The person who solves LSAT cannot automatically get the Rubik's Cube right. There's a method for each. They're all different. So the next important thing that I want to tell you, foundational, is that if you want to improve in the LSAT, practice just the LSAT. If you practice something else, you will get good at that. If you practice reading the editorial, you'll get good at reading editorial. Practice Sudoku, you'll get good at Sudoku. Therefore, go to the website. Look at the questions that are given there on the official website. Download the paper. 3 of those are there for free. Just do those directly. You will improve. Practice the test. The preparation for the LSAT is the practice of the LSAT questions. Simple. Proceeding further. This big question of speed versus clarity. Now, first of all, let me talk about speed with regard to your exam presently. You are, like I said, you are a bowler who is perhaps bowling to a batsman who needs to score, let me take it as 20 runs of the last over. In other words, I say this is an easy over for you to bowl, right? You can take your time, bowl the right delivery. It's not hard, okay? So the first thing that I want to tell you is you do not need spectacular speed. You don't need to be this genius. I'm not a genius. I'm very ordinary when I solve the questions, but it's enough for the LSAT as of today. When I graduated from school, CLAT was new. So I don't know if you've heard of this college called NLU Delhi. I'm from Delhi. In NLU Delhi, there were more seats than applicants. So if the seats were 50, there were around 35 students. All 35 got into NLU Delhi. Okay. So CLAT with time has kind of grown. So the LSAT as of today is a relatively new exam. You do not need to do a spectacular job here, right? To do well in the LSAT, you have to fill the form, appear for the exam, get a few questions right. So you don't need great speed as far as the exam is concerned. But aside of the exam, now even if you're preparing for the CLAT, let me tell you how you should decide speed versus clarity. One of the most important things is your ability to comprehend, comprehension. Let me give you a test of what is the right speed for you. What is the right speed for you? Okay. Let me just maybe just show you something which is written somewhere. Okay. I'm not going to suppose I start reading when exercising it is in your healthy to exercise. Oh, okay, fine. Again, when exercising the muscles in one's back, it is I don't want to write else. See, there is no definite speed. The speed is what is right for you. The right speed at preparing for the LSAT is what is right for you. And let me tell you as to how you should find your sweet spot. The sweet spot is when you read, you should be able to comprehend. Now, the problem is you look at something, you've memorized it, you've recognized it, but how do you know whether you've been able to comprehend it or not? To comprehend, is it to know everything that now I can get the answer right? Is that the speed at which you should read? No. Let me give you the test to decide whether you have been able to comprehend something or not. So, when I was first attempting the LSAT back in 2015, I stop here. If you thought I was going to say something, maybe I was going to say in 2015, it was good, it was bad, I was good, I was bad. Did you have a sense of anticipation that, Ankit is going to say, maybe going to say this? Yes or no? You felt I am going to say something. That is comprehension. Comprehension is the ability to anticipate the next line. Now, I could have said in 2015, LSAT was difficult, or I could have said it is easy, or I could have said in 2015, I want to write the exam but could not write, or else in 2015, I took 2 attempts. I could have said anything, which means you were anticipating something, you could have been proved right or you could have been proved wrong. That is not the point. The point is, are you able to understand what I'm saying? If you can understand what I'm saying, it means your mind will predict the next thing. That's what happens in a suspense movie. What do we call a suspense movie? Suspense thriller. It means you're watching what is happening right now. Some people only eat popcorn and don't understand the movie. For them, it's not a suspense movie. You see, it's a suspense movie for those who understand what is happening. Are you guys getting what I'm saying, or have I lost you? A suspense movie is a suspense movie for a person who's understanding it. Then he realizes, oh, not this, but that, right? So what happens when you are reading an RC thing is, your RC looks like this. This is what your RC looks like. Within this RC, you will have one line here, full stop here. Agree with me? Your RC looks like this, regardless of which exam you write. Now the problem is, you will start reading from here. Again. No. Again. Now, attempt is wasted. Let me tell you one thing. Gather your thoughts. Read it, but don't dive into it. So, what happens is, when you are doing this, you get into it like this. No, take a step back. Always remember that, take a step back. Look at the whole thing. In a long passage, like in this entire webinar that I'm taking for you, at the end of it, you will have 3 or 4 points to decide what is happening. Okay. So take a step back, look at the scheme of what is happening. Okay. Now let me tell you when you should advance to the next line. When should you proceed from one line to the other? Read a line. If you get an idea of what has happened here, go to the next line. Now, should you keep assessing yourself after every line? Like you read one line and say, oh, can I anticipate the next line? Oh, can I anticipate the next line? Should you do this after every line? No. This assessment, which I gave you a test, the test is the test of anticipation. Apply this test after every paragraph. So when you read paragraph number 1, ask yourself, am I able to summarize the paragraph that I just read? That is what comprehension is. See, suppose I can summarize something, it means I know it. Suppose I can anticipate the next thing, I can do it. Yes, Niti, it was yes. A gist. In your head, you should be able to have a, okay, this dealt with this. Suppose you were not able to get that picture. So you read at your speed, whether it is no, 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 or no, 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 does not matter. At whatever speed that you read, you started here and reached here. Question number 1 to yourself, am I able to summarize? Question number 2, do I have an expectation of what is going to come next? If the answer to these is no, go back and read it again. Don't bother about speed. Read it again. Suppose you're able to do this. Your answer to both is yes. Maybe you can push yourself a little more and try to increase your speed. So the highest speed at which you are able to retain the ability to summarize and the ability to anticipate is your ideal speed. Is this point clear or should I repeat? Is this point clear? Good. Good. So now you move to the next paragraph. Now, I told you when I tell you something, you know what? Within a paragraph, the first line generally introduces an idea. The last line concludes the idea. So, when when you want to buy a book, you look at you can judge a book by its cover. We always buy a book after judging its cover, right? So, the first line of a paragraph, right? The first line of a paragraph and the last line of a paragraph tell you a lot about the paragraph, which means it helps you in summarization and anticipation. Likewise, if you have this long thing, the first line of this and the last line of this, or I can say the last paragraph and the first paragraph, give you an idea of structure. You see, humans look at structure. Suppose we look into the sky, we look at this thing, and we say, this is a constellation and it looks like a spoon. There is no spoon. These are just some random dots. But we join these dots. This is how our mind works. Okay. So there is one constellation that looks like this to us. We say this is one thing looks like this. Then we join this and we say this is the suit of a warrior and we'll call this thing Orion. Right? This is my laptop. If I say this is my laptop, here is my laptop. I'm typing on my laptop. For me, this looks like, you see, imagination is something else. But your imagination should be at work. That's what I'm trying to say. Clarity is the ability to imagine. If you can think of what is happening, if you have an idea of what is happening, you can increase your speed. Now let me tell you something about speed and about speed reading. What not to do with speed reading. Let me show you something. Let me show you an example. Let me take you to an RC. Okay, all of you with me? All of you with me? Are you going to read this now along with me? All of you? Read it. Come on. I'm giving you 20 seconds. Read it. Okay, stop. Let me read it with you. The World Wide Web, net, this process of reading something aloud, I can't tell you how dangerous that is. You know, this thing of reading something aloud, speed reading. The first hurdle in speed reading is reading aloud. Reading aloud does not mean my speaking loudly. Even if you are reading it to your own self, if you are saying the in my head I'm doing the World Wide Web, you know what? There is one very big constraint here. Understand the meaning of the word constraint? It means there's one limitation. You know what the limitation is? The limitation is you're going at the speed at which you can talk. I hope you realize that your eyes can look at things much faster than your vocal system can phonate them. Do I make sense to you guys? Do I make sense? If you read to yourself, you have put brakes on yourself like this. Very important point. Do not, do not, do not. It's not about speaking aloud. I'm not talking about whether you should speak aloud or not. One of you wrote that you cannot speak aloud in the. That's not the point. The point is, even if I silently read at the speed at which I speak, if I read mentally the text out to myself, think of it as my having pulled the handbrake of my car and then I'm driving. Okay. So first release the damn handbrake. Try to bridge the gap between comprehension. So you know what, you're looking at something, taking it needlessly through the mouth and then putting it into your head. Cut that chain. So when you read something, read. A very good way of doing this, and you can try it, you will see progress within 2 days. Read in a noisy place. You can't hear yourself uh, telling yourself a story. Turn on some music and let your eyes look at things at a pace faster than your mouth can phonate them. Try it once again. You will see the difference. My instructions to you are, for example, let's take something else. Just try reading this. I don't know it. Yeah, I know it means nothing to you, but read it at a speed faster than your mouth can go, and let me know whether it works for you. Have you been able to unleash a superpower? Have you just realized that your speed has gotten higher? Okay, for those of you saying no, you should do it. With practice, you will get better. If you start reading a research now, unleash your superpower here quickly. Look at it so fast. Done in 3 seconds. Could you see all of this in 3 seconds? Could you glance through it in 3 seconds? Good. I'll show you one more thing. You know what? When I'm, when I'm, I'll tell you something else about the mind. You know, when I want to learn something, I want to see something, it doesn't get into my head. When I want to remove some junk from my head, something will just pop up on my screen like this. I'm like, oh God, that has corrupted my mind and my soul. You know, one pop-up will just come like this and go back. It corrupts my mind and my soul. Which means that when you look at something for 1 second, it gives you a lot of information. 1 second, when you look at something for 1 second, you get a lot of information from it. You get like 50% in 1 second. There's one curve. I'll draw it like this. You get most of the information in 1 second. Then you get the next information in 3 seconds, 4 seconds. You know, I want you to do one thing now. I will show you one paragraph, random paragraph. Look at it for 1 second. You will get the main idea in that. Just one moment. I need to turn on my. Yeah. Okay. I will give you one. one thing to see. You will realize that in 1 second, you will be able to get the main idea. Otherwise, you will do when the muscle on the I ask you, what have you read? Nothing, sir. I have not read anything. Sir, I don't want to do LSAT. Can I pay extra fees? Can I do this? Can I do that? I want to change my stream. Just look at the question for 1 second. I'll show you a screen. Like, look at it for 1 second, and if I ask you, what is the main theme? I want you to answer that in the comment section. So right now, unleash your superpower, which is like, there's no superpower. Everybody has it. We're all human beings. Human beings have superpowers that we don't use thanks to our education system. So I'll show you something for 1 second, and I'll ask you, what is the main idea? What is the thing I'm going to show? I don't know. When I stop, I'll just stop somewhere. I'll stop somewhere for 1 second. Okay. I stop here for 3, 2, 1. Okay. Tell me the keyword that you saw. Did you see anything at all? Wow. You realize something? Most of you have seen something there. All of you say reliable. You've said web. You've seen World Wide Web. You've seen something in that one paragraph. You saw debate. So this is such a critical paragraph. This paragraph is indeed giving you a debate. You know what? It tells you that in the paragraph before this, there was a debate, A versus B, one idea versus another idea. You know what your reading comprehension passage typically is like? It will present you a certain idea. It will present you a certain idea. Then it will give you the other idea, which is like the argument against it. Then it will give you the author's opinion. Typically, this is what the structure is. The purpose of what I did with you was to tell you not to underestimate what you can do in 1 second. Did this look like a wasteful exercise to you, or did this make sense to you? Do you agree with me or not agree with me? Okay, good. Makes sense. Good. I'm glad it did. So, constraint number 1, do not read aloud. When you read aloud, you are you are you can run, but you're holding crutches as if it's supporting you. If I give you a if I give you two crutches and you are able-bodied, will that help you or harm you? It's exactly that. So do not read aloud. Second thing, I'm drawing one star here. All of you make sure you look at this star. All of you are going to focus on this star? If you're going to focus on this star here, okay. Now keep focusing on that star, okay? Keep focusing on that star. Look only at that star. Don't look at anything else. While you were focusing on the star, could you see what I was writing here? When you were focusing on the star. Okay. Some of you might have been thinking, in Arjun was asked one question by his guru. He said, when you're looking at the eye of the fish, can you see anything else? Arjun said no. But Arjun is Arjun. I am, and you and I are ordinary people. See, when we look at this, we can also see the other thing. That is what we call as peripheral vision. Okay? You can look at many things simultaneously. Okay? So now what I'm trying to tell you is, instead of taking your eyeballs like this when you read, so you're taking your eyeballs like this, na, tak tak, na. Instead, I'll tell you something. When you read now, focus on this part and go down like this. My point is, because you will see this and this anyway. Don't go like this. Go straight down like this. Makes sense? Do you want to try it, or do you want to do that with yourself later on? I think I'll let you do that later on. I think it's better for you to do that later on. Okay, now. Okay, I'll give you 1 second. Okay. Then let's do it with a question. Read this downwards from here until here. I give you 5 seconds. Do you see that you're able to do that? I'm not saying now this will take 10 days of practice. That's why I said 10 days of practice. If you're not able to do it, you will have to practice it, right? It will take time. I'm giving you a method. The thing with practice is, if I were to give you some things on a platter and do your arti for you, then you will think, oh, wow, I learned something. But when I give you a real thing, you will realize that I give it to you, but you can't take it unless you practice it. What I've given you here is that you will need to practice it. If you do not practice, you will not get it. You will say, Arey, I cannot do it. Why should I learn this? I have been reading for so many years. There's one thing. It's a lovely quote. What got you here will not get you there. So you may have been reading for the last 18 years. In my case, that becomes 30. If I read the same way as I've been reading since the age of 5, I do exactly that. If I change the way I read, then in 30 years and 10 days, life changes, right? So maybe you're 17 or 18 or 19, whatever you are today. In 18 years and 10 days, follow a method, use the exam to enhance yourself. In life, exams don't matter, colleges don't matter. And we see that today, You think you will get something by getting into a college or by scoring something. And I never tell students to study. I never tell them to read. I generally never detain a student. It's useless. It's all futile, stupid things. But then you are getting an opportunity to enhance yourself. There's a target. You've filled one exam. You will sit for one thing. You will do something. It's a lovely sport. Enjoy the sport. Which again brings me to a very important point regarding reading comprehension, which people will often not tell you. But let me tell you, that's a very, very important thing. Learn to enjoy the process. When you read the RC, look forward to it, for heaven's sake. I I I might sound philosophical here, but this is the master class, and I would fool you by solving 4 questions. By the way, I have solved a lot of questions on the internet already. Okay. If you go and look for LSAT India lessons, you'll see a bald guy that looks like me. That guy is actually me. Okay. So for questions, the internet is available. I'm interacting here with you. We have an opportunity to know each other. I see your names. You see my name. You see me in my house. It's nice. So let me tell you something that is important for you. Learn to enjoy the paper. Okay. Which means that if there's an RC, enjoy the act of objectively reading it. So I might believe that, this is bad and this is good. But when I'm being presented a paper here, it's saying this is good, although I believe it is bad. I enjoy the process of reading what is given. I enjoy the process of solving a game. I enjoy the process of getting it wrong. I enjoy the process of getting it right. I enjoy the process of getting 30 percentile. It's a very important component of dealing with the exam and dealing with the times, right? I don't mean to lecture you, but if I didn't, I'd be lying, so I don't want to lie either, right? Enjoy what is happening. Enjoy the question. Have the ability to take a step back and look at it. Don't get frantic. I will come to that. I will give you that opinion. I'll give you that thing soon. Have I been able to answer the speed versus clarity question? Some people will say first look at the question, then look at the answer, then look at the answer, look at the questions. Let me also answer that for you. Whether you should look at the questions first or look at the answer first. You see, your questions generally consist of a stem, which is like the body. Then there's a question, and then there are the options. I would say If you can look at this in the speed reading method that I told you, where you invest 4 seconds, if you can get to a point when you can spend 4 seconds on the question and get a brief idea of that thing, do this first. Because you've spent only 4 seconds, but in 4 seconds, you've got 3, 4 points. You got 1 point per second. Very valuable. Now go back and read this patiently, then come back and read this patiently. What I'll tell you not to do is do not read this question first in detail. So regarding whether you should read the questions first or answer first, my answer to you is question, answer, which means options. I will say there is only one do not. The other things are based upon you. I cannot give you a one size fits all. Everybody's mind is different. Everybody's curiosity level is different. I can tell you one thing not to do. I will say do not read options first in detail. Do not read options first in detail. Is the point and the logic behind that clear to all of you? Did I make sense? Good. Going a little further. Look at this line of reasoning. And tell me in the comments what you think. I'm looking at your answers, that's why I'm quiet. I'm very glad that some of you have. Okay. So one of the things that you've all identified is the first one is petrol, the second thing is gas. They're not the same thing, for heaven's sake. You know what happens? When I give you a passage, now it's very obvious because I'm talking to you, everything's very nice and fancy. You can see the difference between petrol and gas. Tomorrow in your exam, it will say petrol, then they'll replace it by fuel here. The fact that petrol is fuel is external knowledge. The fact that gas, you know what, this is dangerous external knowledge. Therefore, the kind of acuteness that you presently kept, right, in identifying that petrol is different from gas. Okay, now let me ask you one more question. Suppose maybe I change this gas to petrol. My question remains the same. Is this line of reasoning correct? If not, what is the mistake? Do you think I would ask you a stupid question like this? Okay. Is this line of reasoning correct? For those who say no, why is it not correct? I did see a good answer. I did see a good answer. Okay, let me tell you the answer is no. Good, Janvi. Very good. Very good. Okay. C. Don't bother about running. Don't get C. When you're solving when you're solving, okay, some people are saying that if I put in the tank, it has to be car's tank. Then you have to say my car's tank. No, that is not the point. Okay. Some things we have to understand. Otherwise, it will become a problem. Some things are grammatical. There is a mistake in the line of reasoning. Understand that in an argument, there are two things. This might get a little difficult for you. In case you find it difficult, my apologies, but then I can't dilute it beyond a certain point. Are you guys getting bored? If I take a little longer than what I've said, are you guys getting bored? If you're getting bored, write bored. If you're not getting bored, write. interesting or whatever, so that can I go a little extra? Like suppose, can I take it a little longer? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So stay on. Then I'll not look at the time. I'll look at content. If you get bored and you want to break in between, I'll give you a 5 minute break. Okay. Do you guys want a 2 minute break or can I go on? You want 2 minutes off or I go on? Good. क्या बात है? Only one person wanted to break. Okay, I'll give you a 1 minute break. Take a 1 minute break. Gather your thoughts back. I know it's been a while. Gather your thoughts back. I'll resume in a minute. Let me just ask my host if that's okay that if I go a little longer. I, I'll go a little longer. हाँ हाँ, काम शुरू करते हैं। वरुणेश जी, काम करने के लिए बैठे हैं जी। चलो, now all of you pay attention. Thank you, Varunesh. I am also ready. Okay. There is in an argument, pay attention. You know what? I can throw fish at you. Hey, go eat your fish. Or I can tell you how to fish. When I tell you how to fish, you'll say, Arey, Ankit, give me fish na. I'm not going to give you the fish. That's not my method. I will talk about things that will appear philosophical to you. Life is deep. Humans are deep. Questions are deep. We should inquire into things. I don't engage in giving you something easy. So just, but it is easy. The thing is that it sounds philosophical, but it is easy and it is very direct. Remember, I will never take you through this to reach here. I'll take you right from here. In my understanding is limited by many things. In my humble understanding, whatever I think is the arrow from here to here, I will tell you that. Look at multiple teachers. You will learn different things from different people. What I'm trying to tell you is that I will not give you something circuitous that I know to have a shorter route. I will do the shortest that I know. If it sounds philosophical to you, and if you trust me, then take it without judging it. Take it as if your teacher is giving you something. Okay. Remember that when there is an let me give you a black screen. Let's enjoy with the black screen. Remember that when there is an argument, okay, an argument consists of two things. Let us say what is an argument like. A person says something. Then he says, I'm coming, Ishana. Ishana, I'm not gone away. I'm here only. Ishana, I'm coming to that. Stay patient. What does an argument look like? A person says something. Then he says, this is this, and this. Therefore, this. So, you know, these people did this, and this thing happened, and therefore this happened. Argument finished. You understand this point? Do you see that there is a structure in an argument? Right? Which means that a person, when putting forth an argument, suggests a certain fact, suggests a certain point. And on the basis of that, draws what we call a conclusion. And this is what we call an argument. All of you agree? Now, within these boxes, you have something. I want you to clearly understand the distinction between two things. The first is the content of an argument. The content of an argument is what is there inside the box. The structure of the argument is the nature of the arrangement of the boxes. Did I make sense to you? If I made sense, let me know. There are two very distinct things. The first is the content. So for example, suppose you want to break my argument, you want to deny my argument. So let us say I state a fact that um that suppose I want to draw a conclusion. I'm just using an example from the news. I don't know anything. Don't judge me on my. Suppose I give a fact that Palestine had dropped a bomb on Israel or whatever on the 5th of May. Therefore, Palestine started violence. Suppose I say this. That I says therefore Palestine Palestinians must be punished. Suppose I say this. You can challenge this on in two ways. First, you can say, hey, Ankit, you know what? Get your facts right. It was not 5th of May, it was 15th of May. So you can challenge my argument on the basis of the content of my argument. Got the point? This is the first kind of challenging. The second kind of challenging, see, like Nithi is saying that, I think it's Nidhi. I think Tamilians. Nidhi, your name is Nithi or Nidhi, right? Huh, right. Light எனக்கு தமிழ் தெரியும். சரி. Okay. Um, um, I got distracted. Yeah. So I'm saying here that on the 5th of May, you can say, no, Palestine did not bomb Israel. Israel had bombed Palestine. You can correct me on facts. Or you can say it was not the 5th of May, it was the 6th of May. Here you're correcting me on facts. But there are more ways in which you can break an argument. Let me show you. Those are based on structure. You see, let us say I said the Palestinians had bombed Israel on the 5th of May. Therefore, Palestinians should be punished. Remember that every time between a fact and a conclusion, there is always an assumption. The assumption now is not related to the news. Now I can see the way you guys are writing to me. Do you realize how difficult this is? All of you are thinking in terms of the bombs, you're bringing in your sentiments, whom you support, whether you like Modi, whether you like Benjamin, all of these things are coming into this picture. Even as I speak about it, I realize the peril of the danger of it, of bringing in external knowledge to the question. Am I making sense to you guys? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Is everything okay? If everything's fine, say yes. If you're not able to understand, say no. You guys tell me in the chat. Am I making sense to you? Your chats have suddenly stopped. Have you guys walked away? Okay. Okay. Are you guys getting bored? Are you guys getting bored? I will explain again, but you're not getting bored. All right. Same thing. When I'm drawing something like this, do not bring your external knowledge of the news into it. Point number one. Point number two. When I say that Palestine has thrown a bomb on Israel, therefore Palestinians should be punished, it means there's an assumption in my head. The assumption is whoever throws the bomb first should be punished. Only if we have this assumption can I come to this conclusion. Na? If I say Palestine first threw bomb on Israel on 5th May, therefore Palestine should be punished. One thing is you can challenge me on this. No, no, Israel threw. No, 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 it was not 5th of May. You can do all of these things with me. That is content driven. Yes, Saksham, this is being recorded. Don't worry. One thing is you can get content driven arguments. The second thing you can get is structure driven arguments. Have you been able to understand the difference between the structure and the content? Suppose I show you that your assumption is faulty. I break the link between this and I destroy your argument. Therefore, when you look at your questions where you see that there is an argument, it says which of the following can strengthen the argument, which of the following can weaken the argument. You know what you're looking at? You're looking at logical structure. Facts are not important in the LSAT. Content of arguments are not important in the LSAT. Therefore, or even the CLAT, right? Some of you are here for the CLAT. Now, yes, I will provide the recording of class mein dhyan do. Okay. When you're looking at the content, you are getting misled. You must focus on the structure. Okay. So let us say there's an argument. Learn how to identify what is here. Try to identify these elements. Now, taking you back to where we were. We were here. What I need to tell you is, I am not asking you to talk about whether my car needs petrol to run. You know what? If you have noticed in your exams, you will get all pens are headphones and all headphones are webcams. Why do they give you such absurd, stupid things? You know why they give you these absurd, stupid things? Because if A plus B is this, it does not matter what this is. They are challenging, they are trying to make you test your structural understanding of things. You know? So, you have to simply replace pen by P, headphone by H, something else by A. It does not matter whether this is car, whether it is petrol. So if for me, this is like my C needs P. Very simple. I'm uncluttering everything. I know I'm taking you through a very slow process. You must be thinking, oh, I've not even solved one question, but it is what it is. This is a master class. I'm not solving questions for you. In case you want to look at me solving questions, just go to YouTube and India, LSAT India preparation. You will see one guy who looks like me. That guy is me. Okay. Nidhi, you will find more classes of me on the internet. For the time being, focus here. Discipline the mind, focus here. Okay. My car needs petrol in order to run. Do not focus on petrol, this. So the first mistake that you identified is do not introduce changes by your own self. Do not liken. You know what I mean? Likening means? Liken means to make similar. Do not liken petrol and gas in your head. Petroleum gas, CNG. For us, they are similar things, but do not draw parallels. Do not bring your external knowledge. Now my question to you was, if I replace this gas by petrol, is this line of reasoning correct? Let me tell you the answer to this question is no. Now, tell me why. Very good, Anushka. Vikram, very good. There might be other. Kana, very good. Hasmita, good. Now, some of you are saying we have to assume that if I put gas in the tank, then it has to re in the tank. Suppose that tank has a hole. You put into the tank, you are not to think stupidly. Okay? You are to think kind of objectively. Now, there are two things, necessary and sufficient conditions. Some of you had pointed it right. Okay? When I say my car needs petrol to run, is this a necessary condition or a sufficient condition? Quickly tell me. My car needs petrol to run. Is it necessary or sufficient? Good. It is necessary. What that means is, if this, in my opinion, okay, this is my running car. Okay. Does it need petrol? Yes. But as one of you had written, what if there is a car with petrol but no wheels? It will not run, which means it is necessary but not sufficient. So now I take you back to this question. My car needs petrol to run is a necessary condition. Pardon my spellings and handwriting. I use a digital pen. The conclusion here is, if I put some gas, it will run. No. The problem in this conclusion is he has treated a necessary argument like a sufficient argument. Did I make sense to you guys? Did I show you how you have to think? Obviously, I cannot teach you everything in 1 hour, but I can introduce you to something, right? If you say, oh, I attended your master class, I am not a master. Obviously, you're not going to be a master in an hour. But I'm telling you the acuteness of thought. Okay. Remember, if I do this, then something will happen. So let me use an example that has a little bit of endorsement. Suppose I say, if I write LSAT, I'll get into Jindal Global Law School. So let me put it like this. Let me remove the if. Let me say, I write LSAT, I get into Jindal Global Law School. Is this a necessary condition or a sufficient condition? It's necessary. It's not sufficient. Baba, don't you know that apart from writing the LSAT, you have to pay the fees also here? And you know that becomes a, we'll talk about that later. But you see, there are many things that get you into the college, right? So is fees a necessary condition or a sufficient condition? Very good. Very good. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. You might have the fees, but if you don't have the LSAT score, you don't get in. Draw the distinction between these. I'll move ahead and have a look at some more things now. Would you like me to solve one question with you? You guys have the patience? I go ahead, I solve a question. Okay. Now, when you see a question like this, there is Champa. Okay. Is Champa a girl or a boy? Shatakshi said girl, Shreya girl. A person. It's nothing. They are nothing. Don't waste your head on getting into these details. Champa is C. Acha, Anil is a boy or a girl? Human or cow? Anil is something very good. Acha. The artist Mark Quinn. What is Mark Quinn for you? Mark Quinn with a double N? He's nothing. He's M. Okay. Now you see I'm showing you the method. When you start looking at a question by getting, are you Champa, Anil, Mark Quinn, Sir John Solston, DNA, Ara Baba, it starts getting difficult. See, I don't understand any of this. I am the kind of guy, if you give me that bread, I call it croissant. Somebody will say, no, it's croissant. Like, how does it matter? I just call it C. For me, croissant is C. Simple. So now simplify the question in your head. Okay. Champa, the artist, M, has displayed behind the glass plate biologically replicated Shreya. I I also know the answer. Pay attention in the class. The artist has displayed and pay attention to the method. The point is not to get the answer here, The answer is available. Biologically replicated fragments of Sir John Sulston. Now you see the problem. When we read and I try to phonate, when I read and I read to myself, I cannot call him Johan. I'll say, oh, what's Johan? It's John. Oh, I'll have to Sulston. See, Champa is an easy name for me. Quinn is also an easy name. Mark is an easy. Sulston, first time I'm seeing somebody called Sulston. When you read things to yourself, you stop and you halt yourself on stupid things. Do you realize this? Am I wasting your time, or are you getting some value from this right now? Is it of worth? Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? If you read this to yourself, you lose it. Do not read. Recognize. Replace it by J in your head. This is discipline. The first slide. The discipline of the mind to not get stuck with picking the wrong problems, with fighting the wrong battles. That's not what you want to do. You want to stick to the problem here. That's the discipline of the mind. I hope you realize this. The first slide was not meaningless. Let's go ahead. Behind the glass plate. Now let us see how I can distill this to something easier. It looks difficult now. Let's see. I know. I do not need English. I do not need science. I do not need information. I just bring a little bit of common sense and approach to this. That's what I'm trying to do with you now. Okay. Champa is nobody to me. Mark Quinn. Let me just call him Mark. Let me call this guy John. Now, let me tell you something about things that come between two commas. This will help you not only in RC, not only in one thing, but in everything else. Suppose I say Ankit, who is from Delhi, teaches maths. Do you realize that the main sentence here is Ankit teaches maths? And what you have here is an additional information that is given between two commas. Are you guys able to understand this point? Yes or no? Quickly tell me, yes or no? Right? Now, when you try to make sense of a statement, first remove from your head the frills and then add it back. So for example, to understand the main point, decide first that Ankit teaches maths. I know the main structure. Ankit teaches maths. Now, Ankit, where is he from? Oh, he's from Delhi. Let's add it. So you do a plus Delhi in your head. Okay? Which means that to make our life simpler, I will play a game with you now. And eventually you have to learn to do this mentally. Whatever is between these two commas, in the form of a qualifier, you see, he has displayed behind the glass plate. Let me say whether he displayed behind the glass plate, underneath the glass plate, on a steel plate, in between a steel and a glass plate. None of my business, man. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a painter. I'm I'm nobody. I'm just here to solve the question. So let me just remove the details. Did everybody understand why I removed this? If you didn't understand, say no. If you understood, say yes. Okay. Okay. I removed it because it's a qualifier between two things. You can add this data back. So now let's read this. The artist Mark has displayed biologically replicated fragments of John's DNA. The artist Mark has displayed something. You see, when I say he's displayed something. This thing for me is something. So, for me right now, what the sentence has become, I see the sentence as Mark has displayed something. You know why I'm calling it something? Because, biologically replicated fragments of Sir John Sulston's DNA looks very difficult to me, and I know for a fact that anything that is difficult in the LSAT is not needed for you. Do I make sense to all of you? Making sense? I'm solving one question with you, but I'm teaching you an approach. I'm, the objective is not to get the question right. The objective is to learn the method. And this you apply to everything else. All right. So Mark has displayed something, calling it a conceptual portrait of Sulston. That means Mark has displayed something and he has called it a conceptual portrait. Now let me do one game with you. Let me bring information back. Do you suddenly realize that you are able to comprehend this one sentence which you were not able to comprehend until now? Yes or no? Very good. Let me tell you one more thing. And I told you that what is the meaning of comprehension? Can someone tell me? All of you tell me. What did I tell you? What is the meaning of comprehension? Anticipate. Very good. Very good. So now I said summarization plus, very good, Kritin, very good. First, understand, summarize, anticipate. So now I'll play the same game with you here. What is my summary of this? Mark has displayed something and he called it something. Something number one. He called it number two. Now I think Mark has displayed something and called it something else. I'm like, now what do you think the next thing can be? It will be like, you can't call it this, or you must call it this, or you should call it something else. Are you able to get what I'm trying to say? Do I make sense to you guys? Anticipation means Mark showed something, called something. Now I'll think this should be called this, or this should be called something else, something like that. I have some anticipation. Let us go ahead and read the next line. Ah, sorry. Let's look at it. Here he says, but, argument, but means you're going to challenge something that's happened here. Understand this? One word. But so it's like, I really like eating, drinking water, but we know something's coming. I really like you. You're a very good class, very good students, but Jindal is a very good college, but it has great faculty. No, right? I'm going to say something bad about it. So, before you read this, you know what the summary of this is. Do you realize how empowering this method is? You read one thing, summarize it. Look for a conjunction like this. You know what is there behind. You can predict what is coming next. We are comprehending. Am I taking a lot of time? Of course, I'm taking a lot of time. And that's why you have to practice. With practice, you will increase your speed. Okay. I don't mean to solve questions for you like this. I have solved this question on the internet as well. You can go and look for it if you're interested. Here, I'm displaying to you a method, and I don't want to be um, hasty in doing that. Once again, even if it's getting painful for you, don't worry. I'll perhaps stop at this question after this. So just stay with me. I've told you most things that I need to. Here, the summary of this, and you need to do this. With the practice of this, you will get faster. So Mark Quinn has displayed something and has called it something. But Ananya, I know. I know what you're saying, but I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that now. But to be a portrait, something must bear a recognizable resemblance to its subject. Here's where it's starting to get hard. So Mark displayed something, called it something. Now that something gains some importance because here he's talking about portrait. That means now I need to again remember that I cannot call it one. Like how I called this thing, I replaced this thing by one, then I replaced this thing by two. But you see the later line talks about two as a thing. So I need to realize that I will call it a portrait. So Mark displayed one, called it a portrait. But to be a portrait, something must bear a recognizable resemblance to its subject. So what Champa is saying here is Mark is an artist, so he must have drawn DNA and then he called it a portrait of a conceptual portrait of John. But then Champa says, but for something to be a portrait, it should be so for example, if this is me and someone draws me, okay, somebody draws me. Now, you can call this a portrait of me. Why? Because there is a recognizable resemblance to its subject. This is me here. That's where I see it. I think you also see it that way. Is there some resemblance? Yes. So he says you can call it a portrait only if there is resemblance. So now what he's trying to say here is that one thing is the biologically replicated fragments of Sir John Sulston's DNA. This is the real thing, the subject. The other thing is the art form, the painting or whatever. Is there a recognizable resemblance between these two things? Maybe not. Maybe the DNA looks something like this, the double helical structure of DNA. Something is like this, the Watson and Crick model, as they say. Or maybe DNA, something. We don't need to know all of this science. All I'm trying to say here is that he's putting forth an argument that a portrait needs to look like the person. So his argument here, Champa's argument is, for a look at the question, the dialogue must that they disagree over what the question is. What is the area, what is the matter of disagreement between Champa and Anil? This is the question. Where are they disagreeing? So now I basically need to get a bit of an idea of what Champa is saying. So I get Champa's point without learning too much. Champa is saying that A portrait should be something that resembles the subject. This is what Champa is saying. Now you look at Anil. Anil says, I disagree. Now they disagree, but over what? That is the question. Let us look at what Anil says here. Anil says, Quinn's conceptual portrait is a maximally realistic portrait for what it holds actual instructions according to which Sulston was created. If I were to get into the content of the argument, which is not the point that we should, this is a tough question if you get lost in it. The content of the argument is that you and I are basically created of our genetic material, right? So Ankit is basically Ankit's DNA. Nidhi is basically Nidhi's DNA, for example, right? So what he's saying is that Quinn's conceptual portrait carries a huge amount of resemblance because it actually is the actual instructions. So what is DNA? DNA is like a code. It contains the instructions that make Ankit. So he says this DNA may not. So now you can identify me by my genetic code. This is Ankit. Or you can say, oh, let's put one bald thin man. Let's put some specs. Let's give him some beard. Put a headphone with a mic. This is Ankit. Champa is saying this is Ankit. He says this is Ankit. And he says that it is a very realistic portrait. She's saying it is not a realistic portrait. He's saying it's a realistic portrait. I hope and I want you to appreciate the fact that even if you don't understand it completely, if you can get the right summary of the argument, Champa is saying this is not a portrait. He's saying, I disagree. Quinn's portrait is a portrait. If you don't understand maximally realistic, let me just play the same game with you here. Are you guys with me? I'm going to end in 2 minutes. Are you guys with me or are you bored and gone? I know you've not had dinner. I've also not had dinner. Okay. But let's stay on. Okay. Maximally realistic is what is difficult. Whatever is difficult, I remove it. That's the way. Now, if I say, give you a long sentence, I say you should study at Jindal Global Law School because it gives you for the Jindal Global Law School has the best faculty in the world and it gives you the best campus and this and this. Suppose I say this. The essence of my statement is you should study at Jindal for it gives you this thing, it gives you this exposure and this and that is secondary. The main crux lies in here. I disagree. Conceptual portrait is a portrait because I hope you understand here that the meaning of for is same as because. It's a usage, it's a grammatical usage. If you don't know this, I can't help you. I hope you know it. How many of you realize that for is used in the meaning of because here? Okay. If you didn't know this, I can't help you. This you need to know. Okay. So now what I'm going to do here is, yeah, I know it's common knowledge, but common sense and stuff is not. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm removing what is difficult and I'm removing the extra thing because who asked you? I don't want a reason. Anil, shut up. I don't want your reason. So I remove this also. So now Anil is saying, I disagree. Quinn's conceptual portrait is a portrait. This is Anil's statement. That means their point of disagreement is whether this thing is a portrait or not. Option D. Do you realize you needed nothing to solve this apart from some discipline? D is the answer. But do you realize you need nothing to solve a question like this, although it looks difficult? Bacha, you guys following? Do you realize that you needed nothing? This exactly is the point. Suppose you had solved this question in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You would have missed out so much knowledge, right? So if I am to, you know what, I have, it depended on how, what kind of, what the mood of the students was, you know. So I could have also done many questions with you, but I, I realized that since you were receptive in a different way, I didn't want to do too many questions with you. So let me now tell you what to do. Okay. If you believe that you would want to do that, let me let me tell you how you should approach this and what your plan should be for the next few days. Right? I'm concluding the next 2 minutes. Are all of you here? I'm kind of giving you what I believe is my plan. We are looking at the LSAT from the 29th to the 31st of, no, sorry, 30th of September, April, June, 31st of, yeah, May has 31 days. See, solving the LSAT question does not mean you know how many days are there in May. That's a fact. When I get an exam in the question in the exam, for me, May, if they say May has 24 days, then May has 24 days. No knowledge required. You see, I don't have knowledge of anything apart from what is given in the question. That's what helps me solve LSAT. I know nothing, so I do LSAT well. Okay. If we are looking at from the 16th to the 29th, you know what people will say, this is 13 days. It's not, it's 16 plus 29 plus 1, it's 14 days. Okay, let me divide these 14 days for you. Let's divide it first as 7 and 7. What should you do in the first 7 days? I would say if you can perhaps devote anything between 2 to 4 hours, not more than 4 hours. If you go and make Maggie for 30 minutes, you spoil Maggie. If you make Maggie in 2 minutes, like they say, you spoil it again. Give Maggie 3-5 minutes, you get your Maggie. I strongly recommend not doing more than this. If you say, no, sir, I am very motivated by your class, I will study for 14 hours. God bless you. You can do it, but it's not needed. This is Maggie noodles, right? You must not give things more than their due. This is the nature of the exam. So I would say study for 2 to 4 hours, depending on when you think your mind is not functioning. When your mind is not functioning, drop it. If after 4 hours your mind is functioning, still drop it. Study for 2 to 4 hours. Now, what should you do in this? Solve around not more than 5 to 6 questions a day. Spend time on a question. And if you want, you can look at my lessons that I've put up on LSAT. Just go write LSAT India preparation. Like I said, you'll see me. I've done this kind of boring classes only, like taking a question and spending a lot of time. But more than seeing somebody else's approach, you need to spend time on it as well, right? If you only watch lessons and videos, your mind will remain untrained. So, so what I want is that you guys should invest time on this, struggle with it. Your mind will grow, it will see some problems, look at the answers, see why your answer is wrong, start disciplining your mind. You will realize where your mind goes here and there. Oh, oh, I should not have wasted time on the spelling of Quinn. Whether he's Quinn or Quine or whatever is not your problem. Whether someone is Louis, whether you should say Louis or Louis is not my problem. You're not trying to look at facts. So slowly you start. Yes, Saksham, yes, I've seen you. I'm intentionally ignoring that message. So you start eliminating extra details. Start narrowing down the mind. That's what the discipline of the mind is. You're focusing on the problem only. Engage in this process for 7 days. Once you've engaged in this process for 7 days, your mind is different. The next 7 days, try to solve maybe 100 questions. I don't see why you will not get, or even this. You see, when you start talking about the 99 percentile range, where people, no, bacha puja, not 100 every day. No. 7 days, 100 questions. 100 questions in 7 days. When you start talking about the 99 percentile and above range, I don't address that crowd because people who are in the 99 league devise their method on their own. What I'm trying to say is at the end of 7 days, if you have the discipline of solving 7, 8 questions well, whether you jump from here to 90 or here to 99 will depend on many things, including the nature of your practice, the discipline of your mind. But 14 days are enough for 90 percentile for any person. A good student can take it. Sundar, I'm saying 100 questions in 7 days, right? Is a good number. Let me tell you, if you take one RC, it's one question, right? It's a lot. Today's class, I solved one question with you. Was it less? No. So I want you, I'm not telling you to do an easy task. This looks like, oh, only 100 questions. No, it's not easy. It will take something from you. You give it, and in my estimation, this should help you. Medha, surely 40 to 90 is not a big jump, right? 40 to 90. I don't know if you like a little bit of number crunching, but let me tell you. Have you heard of this exam called the CAT, which people write for MBA? Okay. Suppose you look at 99.9 percentile, you look at the 99th percentile, not percentile. You know what percentile means? Suppose 100 people write an exam. If I am 1 percentile, it means I'm in the bottom 1%. If I get 99 percentile, it means I'm the 99th person. If these many people write the exam, this is 1 lakh people, then when I say I'm 99 percentile, it means I'm in the top 1000. If I get 99.9 percentile, it means I'm in the top 100. If I get 99.99 percentile, it means I'm in the top 10. This is what it is. But that doesn't mean I have got 99.99%. Maybe I have got only 50% marks. So percentile is relative, percentage is absolute. If this was getting too much for you, ignore it in the LSAT. You don't need any of this. But for those who are asking me, I'm explaining this to you to give you an idea of how much you need. Hmm? So 99 percentile, then I'll take it down to 95 percentile, then I'll go to 80 percentile, and then I'll go to maybe 50 percentile. You know what? You will say that the difference between 99 percentile and 99.99 percentile is less than 1%. Nimish Bacha, pay attention. I'm telling you something. How can I answer your question when I'm saying something else? The difference between 99.99 percentile and 99 is less than 1%. This difference is 5 percentile, 5 percentile. Here this is 15 percentile, and here this is like 30 percentile. In terms of percentile, the gap is wider. Do you realize this? This is very close. This is further, this is further, this is further. Do you guys realize this? Okay. Let me tell you in absolute terms. The difference between the person who has got 99 percentile and this one, the difference between these people is generally around 20 to 30 marks. Let's say 25 marks. Oh, I hope I didn't erase this. Thank God. Let's say this is 25 marks. Can I tell you something fantastic? The difference between 99 and 95 is also 25 marks. The difference between 95 and 80, although this is 50, is also 25 marks. The difference between 80 to 50 is also 25 marks. You know why? There is a crowding. You know how the marks happen? There's a crowding that happens here. And they say it's lonely at the top, right? It's exactly how it is. There are 2 people who have 99.99 percentile. There are 30 people who have 99 percentile. There are many people here and here. Now, therefore 99 percentile is here. 99 percentile is here. 95 percentile is here. 80 percentile is here and 40 percentile is here. To jump from here to here, you need to get only 25 marks. It is not this, even this person needs 25 marks. Therefore, the CAT is very competitive because you have to go from 99 to 99.99 to get into IIM Ahmedabad. It's very competitive to get those additional 5-10 questions right. But when you're talking about the LSAT, you see, this area is of no significance for an LSAT taker. It's the bitter truth. If I were here endorsing the exam and trying to say that, oh, it's the world's toughest exam and this and that, hell no. This area is not even considered here, except for scholarships. And these people are brilliant people. They don't need me. You know, do your own stuff. You need, they can attend a master class of mine, attend classes of other teachers, use your own head, get in here. You need 99 plus percentile only if you want a scholarship. To clear the exam, to go from 40 to 80, you need what? 6 questions, 10 questions. You will just shoot up from here to here. The jump from 50 to 80 is nothing. Therefore, if some of you are aiming for 80, 5 days is what you need. You have 14 days. I would say aspire for this. Not because life becomes better. Not becomes Life becomes better if you clear an exam or if you get into a college or don't get into a college. None of this matters. Do what you like, stay happy, try to enjoy the process, try to enjoy the exam. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I really appreciate it. I appreciate that you came at such a short notice. God bless you. I think I'll end the class now. I really appreciate that you've stayed for so long. God bless you all. The link, I think, if you've registered, um, then the host would have your email ID, and I'll request him to send you the recording. You don't need a recording, man. You've attended it live. Don't look at stale things. Try practicing. Okay. God bless you, all of you. Thank you for your patience. I'll end the class. Stay safe. Stay happy. Don't bother about anything. Saksham, you will receive the link. Don't worry. Thank you, Ashwath. Thank you, all of you. Stop sharing. Thank you, Vindhya. I'll end the session. I think I'm alone here. There's no host. I'm everyone here. Okay. But all of you take care. God bless you. I'll leave now.